Welcome back to the Seraphine podcast and my YouTube channel. I am Seraphine Arocha, and today it is my pleasure to be podcasting with the one and only Jason Wilson from Dane Fabrications. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. I feel like our paths have crossed a few times, and it's always that moment where you want to just keep talking longer, but I'm usually seeing you in your place of work. So I was introduced to Jason through Aaron because me and my husband are buying a house and we are really wanting this house to be ours. And you do custom commissioned amazing pieces of furniture and, like, to me it's artwork. Describe it to me. How would you describe it?
It's kind of sculptural, artistic furniture.
Yeah.
Built for custom spaces, just to kind of have a different vibe than a normal house would have, I would say.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you get energy, and just you come in and you have like a wow factor, like a statement piece.
Yeah.
It's kind of functional.
It's insane because when I walked into your space, I mean, I was like, wait a second, this guy is from small town Kirkville, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what were you like as a kid? Did you have like a crazy imagination? I mean, were you always kind of aware of furniture and spaces and, all of that? Or was this something that kind of came later on in life?
It's pretty artsy growing up. We lived in a small town. My family was pretty much the whole town, made up the whole town. It had one intersection. We lived on an older farm. So I was pretty much out in the fields playing with sticks and mud.
Yeah.
And then my parents, they had a contracting company, so they had the wood shop. So I think that was kind of what started my interest, is watching them build things, and then I would kind of build a birdhouse or something.
That's so cool. In terms of like wood versus metal, because you're really known, right, for, I guess it's metal smithing, is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of more metal fabrication.
Okay. So what's the difference between metal smithing and metal?
So like a metalsmith, they like heat up the metal and hammer it out, and it's more of like forging and actually like playing with the metal like it's clay.
Okay, kind of like what I imagine in like Game of Thrones,
the sparks.
Yes.
And the heated metal and all that.
Yeah. What's the difference with
so what I
do?
do is, I guess it's just pieces of metal that are already pre-made, and then I'll kind of transition them into whatever I need it to be.
I gotcha. So it's almost like not Legos, but kind of like seeing different shapes of metal and then kind of building them into your vision.
Yeah.
All right.
So
cool.
like playing with Legos, some kid could have his Legos and I could have mine, and they could be totally different. Mine would be more of a sculptural thing, and theirs could be just the simple block and square.
That's so cool. You are educating me because, again, I'm just, again, imagining you in Game of Thrones in a man kilt, like, metal smithing, the beds. And, it's funny because when something just puts you in awe, because, I mean, you don't walk into your space and go, oh, that's casual furniture. Like, it's very much like it stops you in your tracks. I mean, from your beautiful pieces of wood. I mean, he has these gorgeous like slabs that look like they've came from trees in like Washington of the sequoias or something like that, and like the rings on them, and then the way they're finished, and then the bases, they're so artistic and they're such statement pieces. What is I'm curious, how did you combine wood and metal? Like, how did that begin?
I like the kind of organicness of the live edge tables. So you can keep the live edge, which gives it its shape, or you can cut a perfect rectangular circle out of the wood. But I like when you can get a really cool, unique piece of wood that has a lot of grain pattern, or the texture, or the colors, the variation, and then nobody else is going to have that in their house. So compared to like mass-produced furniture, which I've seen several pieces that look really cool, but a live edge slab, like nobody else is going to have that. So that's your one-of-a-kind piece.
So was Dane Fabrications in Iowa first? Because you went from Iowa. Were you in Chicago?
So no? I was in Iowa, and then working for, my background's more of a upscale front of house restaurant management. So then I went to Chicago, and I was working with Chef Morimoto.
Very cool.
And starting his new restaurant there. And then that's where I kind of wanted to get back into building things, I would say. And I've always wanted to work with metal for some reason. I don't know why. So then after I was done in Chicago, I went back to Iowa and did the welding program. And then once that was finished up, I just bought my little welder and slowly started to build up the company.
Oh my gosh, that's fascinating because the restaurant world is very demanding of time. So to understand, like, you know, you're tired, you're working late nights, and then on top of it, being so motivated to create, that to me is really special because I think a lot of artistic people, their motivation starts to die when they have a job that they're obligated to. And it sounds like you really loved the restaurant world, but it sounds also that you had this like nagging calling of I need to do more. Would how do you I guess how did you choose to leave the restaurant environment?
I kind of missed like the artisticness of building things.
Yeah.
And I've had a thing with interior design. But the thing that I like about the restaurant industry is like I used to be very shy.
Yeah.
And getting into the restaurant industry, like I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
But that meeting people and like having a connection with someone that you just met and you can have a crazy conversation. But to leave the restaurant industry and build these custom pieces, it's kind of fulfills like meeting clients and getting their excitement with that project. So it's kind of the same concept.
It kind of is. It's funny. I used to work in restaurants and I was a bartender, I was a waitress, and I remember this sense of just this idea of going into a place and having the option of meeting different people, right? But there was no weird obligation to have long-term relationships with these people because they're in and out. You know, they pay for their meal. You may see them again. That's wonderful. But you have this environment that's controlled. And it's interesting because, you know, I look at what you do now with these commissioned pieces of art and furniture, and you know, you still have that control in the sense of the person comes in, they tell you your idea or their idea, and then you kind of meld in yours, and then you step away from each other, right? And then you kind of let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is where it's going. You may talk one more time, and then, you know, you make your tweaks, and then it's the finished product at the end. So it's that kind of touch and go relationship, but there's still that interesting intimacy that I think is very familiar of like a restaurant of like, you know, you'll come back in when you want another meal or you see that person again, but there's no obligation, right? Once the bill is paid, they leave.
And that's like with the restaurant industry, you can give your referral on food or something and they wouldn't think that they would like it. Like I did mixology.
Yeah.
So like putting cracked pepper in a martini, like would just spice it up in a cool way. So like with interior design projects, I'll toss something crazy and weird at them that they wouldn't even think of. Yeah. And then it comes out to be this cool, unique piece that they didn't even think of or they weren't thinking of.
I love that because most people I think they think they know their design aesthetic until somebody kind of awakens in them, like by asking the right questions. So what kind of questions do you ask people when they're coming in to commission a piece?
I usually I want to see what's going on in their heads. So I'll be like, show me pictures, like kind of tell me what's going on, like what you're wanting. So then I'll kind of look and see what's going on in their head. And then I'll try to put some type of a twist to combine like 8 or 10 different images together. And then think of a different way to twist that image to something creative and different. So like a coffee table to where it could set up and be an entryway table. So you get 2 uses out of it. So that, because you're going to pay a higher price for a custom project anyway. So if you can twist it and use it in multiple, if you're entertaining, so that you can kind of have a piece that's functional in 2 different uses.
Now, I saw on Instagram a little work combination with Dapper Latino.
Oh, yeah.
How did you guys start working together?
I think I reached out to him on Instagram. Oh, yeah, I invited him down to my showroom because I was like, oh, he looks so fancy. So
Josh is great. He's such a genuine guy. He's been on the podcast before. Yeah. And when I saw your work, because I think you did, was it a stairwell?
Oh, yeah, in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
that was the first project. And he said he was very nervous because we obviously hadn't met or worked together before. And all my projects, I get 50% down. So he gave me 50% down. And
yeah. It's
he was
trust,
very
right?
nervous to,
Yeah, I'm sure, but it's cool.
I think it too, like when you meet someone, like how you interact with them and your connection, like that means a lot. Like for me, like when I first met you, like I got a good vibe from you and like energy and stuff. So, and I got that from him too.
And that's so important these days. I feel like we're so postured, and if you're doing anything that is in the public eye, whether it be your art, whether it be a podcast, or like you're having an event, I think there's a lot of times where I want to be vulnerable and I want to show all of me, but it's also out there for people to be like, I don't want to listen to you, or I'm not going to buy your piece of art, or whatever. And I don't know. I think the beauty of being an artist, or whether it be communication, or whether it be whatever it may be, if you're somebody that is out there to collaborate or connect with people, it's so important to go with your gut. Because these days I feel like we're all a little bit like a little guarded. So it's nice. And as soon as I met you, I was like, all right, something will be made for our new house. 8 months until I move in, but can't wait. I wonder, like, when you quote unquote blueprint the designs, like, what's your process?
So I usually just take out a pencil and paper and just start drawing. Like a couple of my friends, they're like, you should have the nice CAD system. I'm like, I don't need that. Like you had those architects in the 1800s drawing things out by hand. Like
100%.
It's still an art, like drawing. So I was like, I don't need to spend like thousands of dollars on a nice fancy CAD system to mock this up in their space. Like, so when I build something with someone, I'll kind of like point out details on pictures that I'll show them. Like, I kind of like this, but let's tweak this a little bit. And then when I build things, I make sure the client's there every step of the way. Like I'll send pictures, or if say we get a design down and then something else pops in my head, I'll be like, what if we do this? And I'll explain it, and then we'll kind of tweak it as we go. But I make sure, since there's not that professional CAD system, that it's going on in my head and I can picture it. And it's going to look
pretty.
Almost
makes you, and I also think it kind of makes the work, I mean, again, no offense to people who use it, because there is a functionality for it, but it almost takes away the uniqueness and that like special quality, where I think when you're really using hand to paper, it's so different. So with your pieces, have you ever had anything when you're done?
The table that went to Miami, just bending the metal, and then the process of sanding it and shaping it, and they wanted a certain patina, so we were sending patinas back and forth.
What's a patina?
Kind of just the overall finish, the tone, like it was a white, so that there's 500 different shades of white. So it had to be this certain Benjamin Moore white, and then they wanted it to be smooth but not all the way smooth, but then they wanted it to kind of look like it came out of an ice mold.
Oh, so interesting.
It was metal tubing that was bent. There were like I had to bend 3 C channels, or 3 C shapes. And then the base had 3 legs, and then there's a C that went up underneath the table to hold the top, the marble top.
Oh, wow.
But they wanted that to look like it came out of a mold, instead of where the circles would meet, there'd be like a gap. So I had to fill that with body filler and then sand it.
What is that? What is it called? Body filler?
It's
love the sound.
They'll use it on like vehicles.
Okay.
If there's like any, I guess, a place that would fix up a salvaged car.
Okay.
To get it, like the smooth texture back to it, like if it was in a wreck. Basically. So it's just epoxy, kind of, you mix it up. It smells really good. It's probably not healthy for you, but
right.
But it hardens really quick, and it gets really hard.
So I have a few more artistic questions for you. What drives your design decisions? What are some of your biggest inspirations?
I do not get on Pinterest. Like, I can't look.
Yeah, you don't.
I really don't.
You don't even, like, I would never imagine you on Pinterest. I feel like you'd go to like the Nelson Atkins Museum before you would go.
I don't know. It's more of things that I really don't look out at things too much. Like, if I see something that's cool and attractive, if I'm at a museum or something, I'll think of a way to like turn that into a table in some type of way. But I feel like when I'm just sitting in my studio and looking at projects I've done, or pieces that I've kind of saved that I've liked, and I'll just kind of let my mind go off in whatever little land it goes into, and these creative ideas just come to me.
That's so cool. So, I've always been someone who has really enjoyed minimalism. And that's why I think a lot of your designs I'm attracted to. And in recent years, minimalism has been king. But now it's really turning into this maximalist, like lots of pictures on the wall and Gucci wallpaper and color and like different throw pillows, and really making it look like it wasn't planned, that there's like your grandmother's old sculpture mixed in with, Versace's freaking gold medallion on your door.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts, and has it influenced any of your work?
I'm more of the modern minimal, but lately I've been prone to like bright colors, which isn't normal for me. But I still want to keep my look, because I still like that minimal vibe. But I feel like my pieces could be thrown into that big mess that somehow makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a client in Des Moines right now. Her house looks like a Vegas showroom. There's a lot of pops of pinks and purples and everything, like the wallpaper's metallic, just crazy. But
That's
it's
so
like
cool.
I can see my pieces in those spaces, so they still fit in.
Yeah.
But I still want to keep my modern, minimal, clean.
Yeah, your aesthetic
artsy.
too, and what you're known for. I think that sometimes, again, even though you may be commissioned for pieces, I think it's so important to let whoever is coming to you be like, well, this is what I'm known for. Not that you can't go outside your box, but I really understand like my limitations now of like, or maybe it's not limitations. It's just your decision of this is what I'm good at, and I want to keep down this road. And who knows, you might change in your 50s or 60s, but you strike me as a guy who's going to keep working with his hands until then.
Yeah, because I feel like all my pieces they're usually black or white or like an earth tone color. But I feel like the animal heads, like,
Oh, I love those.
those could be a bright pink, like
Yeah.
a pop of color. Like, so it's just any of my pieces could be turned into whatever pop of color that they should be. And I could do that in my showroom, but I don't want to. I just want to keep my look so people know that it's like that's my look. It's clean, and then get crazy off that.
Have you worked with recycled materials before?
All the animals in the showroom is all recycled aluminum. So it's like
Oh,
old
cool.
patio furniture from the 70s, like
That's
a
cool.
lot of pop cans. And
That's wild. I did not know that. That is super cool.
so yeah, it's a foundry I work with. So we can do the whole animal, we can do the head mount, whatever part of the animal. So I like, obviously real taxidermy is kind of cool, but having a metal elk head on your wall is kind of cool too.
Totally.
Mhm.
What kind of aesthetics or trends are you not into?
I would say like cheap, like furniture that you buy just to fill a space, and then you're like,
Yeah,
is it bad
no.
to say IKEA?
No, it's okay. I mean,
Like,
there's
you
so
buy
many brands.
something
Yeah.
just to it's a filler.
Yeah.
But then you're gonna buy 10 more dressers when you could have had a cool
Yeah.
something that you like that you're gonna.
I think, places like IKEA serve their purpose for when we're like in our 20s or going through a divorce and losing everything. You're like, I need a couch.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel, it feels temporary, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing that, I'm really understanding now within my own self of, can I live with it? Sure. Does it make me feel good? Does it make me feel secure? Do I feel grounded when I'm in this room?
Mm-hmm.
No, because my chair is going to freaking break a leg off, if I
Yeah.
sit on it wrong or my dog jumps on it a certain way. I also wanted to know, like, who design aesthetic, designers that are out there do you most relate to?
I like Moy. Just the horse lamp he did has been stuck in my head for like the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something like that. So I did it with the giraffe lamp.
Very cool.
Kind of the same idea, but it's slightly tweaked. It's actually over its head. It's not just on top of its head like a hat. But I just like the animal lamps that he's done, and just the minimal, kind of artsy, cool.
It is, and there's just a nod. It's a nod to something more emotional too. Animals, we all have that animal that we're connected to, you know. I feel like
And I love animals, so like working with these recycled animals
well, Dane
is way cooler.
Dane Fabrications, the name. Where
Yeah,
does it
yeah.
come from?
Yeah, I have 2 Great Danes. So
What are their names?
Camden and Charlie. I got them when they were 6 weeks old.
And that's how you met Aaron, right? It was the love of the
Oh yeah,
Dane.
they were walking by the shop with their Great Dane, and I yelled like a crazy psycho animal person, and I was like, "Get over here!"
Yeah, it's amazing too. That's where it is. It's like those connections with people where you just get it. With like Josh, you know, Dapper Latino. It's like you know instantly. You're like, I'm going to work with this person,
Yeah.
or you love Great Danes. I love Great Danes. Well, I guess we do have to wrap this up, even though I could talk to you forever. And we will be talking more and more. I think we'll be in your space sooner than later. Thank you so much for coming on with me. And just, you know, it's so cool to learn about what you do. And your work is just, I mean, you have to experience it yourself. Please, if you have listened to this podcast, go and check it out on Instagram, his Dane Fabrications and Linea. We'll put those on the show notes below. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and check out Jason Wilson from Dane Fabrications. Thanks a lot
for having me.
Thank you.